YouTube, this is Wrestling Part Fan 62. Here's my review of the WWE Elimination Chamber 2022. Now, the Elimination Chamber was coming from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And that crowd, from the way it sounded, loved it. So let's get started. Now, on the pre show, it was Miz versus Rey Mysterio. Now, I didn't get to see this match in particular, but um, Rey Mysterio won. So it sounds like it's setting up a match between Rey and Dominic Mysterio versus supposedly Miz and Logan Paul at WrestleMania. So now that was the only pre-match on the card. So then we get into the main show, which starts off with Roman Reigns versus Goldberg. Now, this match could have gone either way. And I give Goldberg credit for hanging in there. But Roman Reigns won. And on to dealing with the winner of the men's elimination chamber, which I'll get to. Next came the women's elimination chamber match, which was Bianca Belair versus Liv Morgan versus Nikki ASH versus Rhea Ripley versus Alexa Bliss. Now, all those women I just mentioned did great in this match. They took some pretty brutal hits, especially Liv Morgan did. And especially with most of them not ever been in an elimination chamber before, the only two people who have has been Liv Morgan and Alexa Bliss. They all did great, and so the final two came down to Alexa versus Bianca, and Bianca did a KOD on Alexa to win that match, and will face the winner of Becky Lynch versus Leda. Next was I'll just do Becky Lynch versus Leda next. For that being Leda's first match back since 20 or since in 16 years, she actually did pretty good in the match. She tried to do a twist of fate a few times. She tried to do like a swanton bomb like Jeff Hardy did. But unfortunately, the Becky Lynch did the disarm her and made Lita tap out. So it's now going to be Lita or Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's title at WrestleMania. Next is a match, which is Sonya Deville and Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey and Naomi. Now, first of all four of those women were able to get their entrances in, which is great. Now, the stipulation was weird because Ronda Rousey had to have her arm tied behind her back, but Sonya was faking her injury. So there was a constant tag between Sonya or between Naomi and Ronda versus mostly Sonya. Charlotte got some in there as well. Um, but at the end, Ronda did an armbar on Sonya, and Sonya tapped out. Next is the now was going to be a tag team match between the War Raiders and the Usos, but because of supposedly time, um, that got um, scrapped. So they basically, the War Raiders did their entrance, Usos kind of attacked them, and basically made it where they couldn't fight. So now um, this leads us to the men's elimination chamber match, which is Bobby Lashley defending his title versus Brock Lesnar, Austin Theory, AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, and Matt Riddle. Now, I did not get to see the match due to some things, but I watched highlights of it. Now, one of the biggest spots that was really amazing to see at the same time, but also, had hurt, was Brock Lesnar doing an F5 to Austin Theory on the top of the pod. Now, overall, I did hear that was not as a great chamber match compared to others, but Brock Lesnar is your new WWE champion and will face um, Roman Reigns in a title versus title match at WrestleMania. Now, overall, this show was a little bit over 2 hours long, and honestly, was not a bad event. Now, was it something compared to Crown Jewel from last October? No, but it still wasn't bad. You had two Elimination Chamber matches. You had a couple of good matches in there. The crowd was hot and loved it. But so now we are roughly a little over, I think it's 40 something days away from WrestleMania. So now the build will start on Monday Night Raw for WrestleMania.